Well, Smallville Season 4. After the terrific Season 3 last time, I'm very excited to see what Season 4 is about, and... well, I still liked it, but significantly less than last time. So, let's get into it. While the previous season delved briefly into Clark's Kryptonian heritage, this season takes it to a whole new level. The season opens with Clark being released from Jor-El, but he's been brainwashed. Jor-El has Clark looking for 3 powerful stones, the crystals of fire, air and water respectively. Even after Clark eventually breaks free of Jor-El's mind control, he is still out looking for the stones. The stones, when brought together, create a crystal of knowledge, something that not only Jor-El, but Lex Luthor and Lana's ancestor are all after. On top of finding the stones and dealing with Jor-El once again, Clark is trying to sort out his own life, finishing up high school, trying to go to college, and of course facing the villain of the week. Man, this guy just can't get a break. Clark does reunite all 3 stones by the end of the season before a meteor shower hits Smallville. He ends up in what looks to be the Arctic, where he throws the crystal and creates a giant crystal fortress, a very nice callback to the original Christopher Reeve film. Speaking of which, it's also revealed that Dr. Swan had passed away off screen, which was due to Christopher Reeve passing away a year prior. Swan sent one last email to Clark though before his passing, telling him that the Kryptonian symbol stood for hope. I don't really have a whole lot to say about the Kents this time. They're good, as per usual, guiding Clark through his destiny and managing the farm, but that's about it. They were shown to have died in the meteor shower, but we'll have to wait until season 5 to see the end of that. Lana though went through so much this year. After she arrived in Paris, she got a strange tattoo on her lower back. She later returned to Smallville with her new boyfriend Jason, who I'll talk about later, and gets possessed by a witch, her ancestor Margaret looking for the 3 stones. I should also mention that this happens multiple times throughout the series, twice in Smallville and once in China looking for the stone. Lana does eventually get rid of her and the tattoo is removed, but the luring threat of the stone still remained. Now, I was a bit disappointed with Lex this year. Don't get me wrong, he definitely has his moments, but after season 3, I genuinely thought Lex was on his way to becoming the main villain. But no, he made up with Clark and they're now friends again. Which was disappointing because it's Lex Luthor, he has to become the villain at some point. Despite that though, we do get to see a glimpse of what that might look like in episode 17 when Lex gets an evil clone that targets Clark.
What do you want?
The world, Mrs. Kent. And your son's gonna help me bring it to its knees. Now talk some sense into him before something unfortunate happens.
This is what I expected from this season, and it felt so right for these characters. I like their dynamic, sure, but I know how it will end, and I'm inevitably waiting for the day where I get to see it. Lionel, on the other hand, went through a massive character journey this year. Following his arrest from last season, he is in prison awaiting his eventual death at the hands of his liver failure. In episode 6, Lionel and Clark accidentally switch bodies using the Water Stone. Now a free man and having Clark's abilities, Lionel takes his revenge on Lex for grassing him out. I want to quickly fix a mistake I made in the season 2 video. I initially thought that Lionel was faking being blind the whole season and knew about Clark's abilities. But that's apparently not the case. He was blind for the first half, but later regained his sight and faked it then. I'm sorry, my mistake, guys. Interestingly though, following Lionel's return to his own body, his liver failure has mysteriously vanished, and from there, Lionel decides to turn over a new leaf and become a different person, donating lots of money to different charities. It doesn't last long though, as Lex's evil clone eventually makes him turn bad again. Fast forward to the finale, and Lionel falls into shock due to one of the stones overwhelming his mind. Where he'll go from this in season 5 is beyond me, as I've not seen it yet, but I am very interested. I'm gonna be honest guys, I don't really remember much about what Chloe did this year, other than the few big things. Like Lana, she got possessed by a witch, she discovers Clark's secret and helps him, but that's about it. Still, same old Chloe. The last of the returning characters I'd like to talk about is Alicia. Alicia was a villain from season 3 with the ability to teleport, who also had an infatuation with Clark, yet she had a 2-part redemption story. The first part sees her wanting to make up with Clark, and it seems to be going well until she uses red kryptonite on him, which makes him go mad and wanting to marry her. Clark eventually snaps out of it and is furious. Alicia, knowing she messed up, takes a bullet to protect Clark's secrets. She does eventually recover in part 2, but upset that she and Clark can't live a normal life together, she secretly decides to reveal his abilities to Chloe. By the end of the episode, Alicia is murdered by a metahuman Tim Westcott, who attempts to frame her for attacking Lois and Jason. Again, I'll get to him. Despite everything she did, Clark admitted he loved her, as she was the only person who really understood who he was aside from his parents. the real him. We've got a plethora of new characters this year. First up, we have Lois Lane, a new main character played by Erica Durrance, who for some reason is in the intro. I have only seen Durrance in this one season so far, yet I'm confident in saying this is probably my second favourite Lois Lane in live action, right up there with Rachel Brosnahan. Durrance really understood Lois's punk rock personality and how determined her character can be, and I'm all here to see more for it. A character who is in the intro though is Jason, played by Jensen Ackles. Not to be confused with the Jason from last year, that was Jason Dante. This is Jason Degue. Jason is Lana's boyfriend who she met in Paris. He goes back to Smallville with her where he becomes the high school football coach. Later on in the season we meet his mother, Genevieve, where it's revealed that she and him have been looking for the stones this entire time. Knowing that Clark and the Luthors have too, she targets both of them. Jason and Genevieve have the Luthors tied up in a house. They escape, which leads to a small showdown with Jason, eventually leading him to fall off a cliff. However, in the finale it's revealed that Jason survived the fall, albeit all scarred up, and holds the Kents at gunpoint. Both characters seem to have met their end though. Jason and the Kents were inside the house when it got hit by a meteor, and Genevieve was stabbed by Lana when she was possessed by her witch ancestor. I'm going to be honest though, I'm not exactly a big fan of the Tegus. Compared to Lionel, who was the main villain of the first 3 seasons, I don't really see them coming back anytime soon. Lionel was a great villain. These guys are pretty generic, all things considered. Another character introduced this year, who I know becomes a staple of the series, is Bart Allen, aka Impulse, who was introduced to add a prominent speedster to the series. Now, I really like Bart. I think he's a pretty good contrast to Clark. But I have to wonder why they chose him as opposed to Barry J. or Wally, who are the 3 prominent speedsters in the series. I mean, he was a fairly new character at the time, but still, he's nowhere near as popular as the other 3 Flashers. I don't mean to diss on Bart, again, I really like his character, but still, I just find it weird that they chose him. We also have Mr. Mixia Spitlick, albeit a very different take on Mr. Mixia Spitlick. This character is Mikhail Mixia Spitlick, and isn't exactly a very comic-accurate take on the character. He's depicted as a Russian exchange student with the ability to jinx people, a pretty far cry from the interdimensional imp we all know and love. By the end of his episode, he's taken away by Lex Luthor to be experimented on, and, well, we never really see him again, from what I've researched. And of course, Krypto, whose origin was changed a little bit in the series. Rather than being a dog from Krypton, he's instead an Earth dog given special abilities by his abusers, who used him to rob banks. Which prefer a more traditional take on Krypto, but this works too. It wouldn't be Smallville though if we didn't talk about the villains of the week. I'm gonna be honest, this year probably has the most forgettable villains. I mean, we got a Ghost Girl, a cheerleader cult, evil witches. Those are the ones at the top of my head at the moment. You know what? Here's a list of them. Let's move on. Hey guys, Editing RC here. I thought it'd be important to bring up Lucy Lane, Lois's sister. This version of Lucy is a rebellious teenager, rebelling from her dad and, committing crimes. That's all I can remember from the top of my head, but I know she'll return in a future season. I just know it, so I'm mentioning her here. So, overall, I really enjoyed Season 4, but I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I did for Season 3. The characters didn't really do a whole lot, the villains are really forgettable, the main villains are nothing like what we had previously, and there are some weird choices that I ironically love, but still find pretty weird. That alone, I give Season 4 a 6.5 out of 10. You may disagree with me in the comments, but we all have our opinions. Next up is Season 5. Apparently, everyone's favourite season. I am very excited for that.